It's considered one of the great natural wonders of the world. And is a deeply sacred place for Australia's Indigenous Anangu people, one of the oldest civilizations on Earth.
This rock means everything to Anangu.
Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, a sandstone monolith in the heart of Northern Territory's Red Centre, dates back more than 500 million years. Tourists from all over the world visit the site every year. For decades, there's been a bitter row over the controversial practice of climbing the rock. Have you guys heard that the Aboriginal people don't want people to climb?
Yes, I do, and I understand that, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah.
There are signs here at the base of the climb clearly saying, please don't climb. It's against traditional law, translated into 6 languages, but still every day we've been here, there's been a steady stream of climbers. Indigenous communities have long campaigned for the behaviour, which they consider deeply offensive, to end. Now the time for talking is over. From November next year, the climb will close. I'm here in the spiritual heart of Australia, where I was born, to find out why it's taken so long and how the Anangu people feel about the multi-million-dollar tourism operation that's been built around their sacred site. Uluru is steeped in ancient stories about the creation time. The Anangu people believe that in the beginning, the world was unformed and featureless. From this void, ancestral beings emerged and travelled across the land, creating all living species. Uluru is the physical evidence of feats performed during the creation period. They have walked this land for over 50,000 years. The Anangu believe they are the direct descendants of the ancestral beings that created Uluru and are responsible for the protection of these ancestral lands.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pamela Taylor Show.
Pamela Taylor is one of the rock's traditional owners, a painter and holder of the ancient sacred stories that are enshrined in it.
Rock's got a lot of stories. Some of them I can't tell you. Too sacred.
What happened?
I'll be in trouble.
Individual stories passed down orally as precious inheritance through families. Some shared with outsiders like me in the hope that they will understand their significance. Pamela's family holds the story of Longkata, a greedy and dishonest blue-tongued lizard ancestral being who came to Uluru from the north and stole meat from the emu and went back up to his cave.
Making that, he was asleep. But when they called out, they were getting real angry. All right. Then they made a little fire. It went right up and burned, blocked him. Fell down. He's somewhere around there. That's how we tell the kids not to go around to somebody's house and stealing it, because he'll get punishment like that Lungala. This one is Uluru.
The foundation of Anangu life and society is known as Chukuba, a huge word that encompasses many things. It's religion and culture, but it's also law, with clear punishments for breaking it, explains Auntie Alison, another Western Desert elder.
Well, everything's taught privately through the elders. Like I've sat down as a kid learning and listening with my elders. So you can have that and pass that to your girls.
And through that process of listening to your elders, hearing those stories, do you get a sense of what's right and what's wrong?
Yes, yes, all that is taught to us. The protocol, what's right and what's wrong, and how to behave, how to respect other people over the boundaries, over here, over there, over there. We get taught all that to respect other people's country and Chukurpa.
These creation stories are the Ananu's spiritual compass. They say the caves, marks and rock formations all live and breathe with them. Senior traditional owner Sammy Wilson's family holds the story of Kunia, the Woma Python woman at Uluru. Sammy tells me that she fought Liru, the poisonous snake here at Uluru, and signs of that ferocious battle are all around this waterhole.
Chiringa jingan vegetable becheri joda, chiringa vegan park middle of the city sama jun ko or sama yare or that. They put someone 5 match block yung statue badal be able to read. Nganam statue eridi chukurita yeah.
For 11-year-old Tilly, going to Uluru and into the caves where there are rock art tens of thousands of years old is a deeply spiritual experience.
I felt like my nana was right beside me and my grandpa, my great-great-grandpa. And that I felt sad because it was a very long time ago when he passed, when he did that painting.
And is that place a very special place for you?
Yeah, because we're not really allowed to go into the rock because we'll get sick. And on that rock, when you step on that rock, you'll get sick because you're stepping on your culture and you're dreaming.
The big climb became the white Australian's sacred duty.
Stepping on the dreaming is what hundreds of thousands of tourists around the world have done.
You know, where they climb up with their hard shoes on, scraping it up little bit. And it's like a road going up it. It wasn't supposed to be like that.
When the first known white Australian explorers came to the area in 1873, they named the rock Ayers Rock, after the Premier of South Australia, Henry Ayers. Ayers arrived in Australia with his wife Anne Potts from England in 1840. He gained wealth and power through mining before entering politics. Over the next 3 decades in Parliament, he exercised significant influence over the shaping of modern Australia.
This is the goal. Ayers Rock looms up like a giant mound from 10 miles away.
By the 1950s, increasing numbers of non-Indigenous Australians were flocking to Ayers Rock.
The radio mast goes up to confound the spirits of the primitive men who've made the rock for untold ages the focal point of their legends and ceremonials.
And the Ananu people were displaced.
Native stockmen. They mightn't look it, but they're nearly civilized.
Almost like a rite of passage. They have heard from their parents and often their parents' parents that you have to come out here and climb. And Australians like to conquer things, and I think that's probably one of the reasons. But it's not just Australians. We get a lot of Europeans, a lot of people from Asia particularly that do want to climb.
Many of the climbers I meet at the base of the rock have come to do it before it closes.
It's always been my dream and we finally made it. Yeah, I like to do challenges and we'll see how far we get in the morning.
Have you guys heard that the Aboriginal people don't want people to climb?
Yes, I do, and I understand that, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, because this will be the last chance, because they're closing it off next year, and next year I'll be too old.
So you don't feel at all kind of uneasy about that, if they say that this is like a sacred site for them, like climbing Notre Dame or a sacred church?
I hadn't thought of that aspect of it.
No,
No.
no, me neither. No, I think we need to work with them and understand their culture and things like that. And in years to come, they might change their mind and say, "All right, let's open it again," or something like that. Or they might open it for a certain period of a time each year, or something like that.
I came here with some girlfriends specifically to climb it before they closed it. We just wanted to get the full experience of Uluru.
And you know why the climb's closing, don't you? That the Anangu people don't like it. They feel like it's trampling on one of their sacred sites. Did you not feel it all bad doing it?
I did, and after climbing, I'm glad that I climbed it and had the opportunity to climb it, but I respect why they don't want people to climb it because it's very sacred and very important to them.
So when you were climbing, you didn't feel at all sort of bad?
I did. There was parts of me that did, but the experience of wanting to get the full experience of the rock, I suppose, push that aside to, I don't know, get the overall experience.
It wasn't until 1985 that the Anangu people, after being recognised as traditional owners, were presented with the freehold title deeds for the Uluru National Park area. In 2011, the Indigenous Land Council bought the Ayers Rock Resort with a promise to employ and train Aboriginal people for jobs in the tourism sector. As well as being blown away by the natural beauty of this area, equally impressive is the tourism machine that's been built around it. Buses bringing in hundreds of people each day into this very isolated area. About 300,000 visiting each year, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars into the Australian economy. The threat of losing the tourist dollar if they push for the climb to be closed was enormous pressure for the Indigenous owners. You said it felt like a gun was holding your hand. Describe that.
Oh, that one now. Palwale na o ngana yung yung buruang arjit plauge bunding a canaras. Don't say that or don't climb the climb. Muntawa. Why we put that can away somewhere? Who want to close it?
And talk they did. In a historic vote, the board of 12 people, including 8 Anangu elders, decided to shut the climb down last year.
I was there on the day when the decision happened, and there were tears in people's eyes, not just Anangu, from staff who have been here for many, many years. Everyone was just so excited that finally the decision had been made.
Why has it taken so long, though?
Well, again, Anangu are very mindful of, particularly for tourism, that there are many people who do want to climb Uluru, and that's why you have the lead time of 2 years for the decision to be implemented. So again, they've done things the right way. There's been a lot of consultation, and the tourism industry is fully supportive of the decision.
Sammy Wilson has set up his own tourism company to try and get some of those visitors to see the land through their eyes.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Learn. Walk around, learn. Not getting flying away by flying doctor.
He's referring to the 35 people who have died attempting to climb Uluru.
We actually say to people, it's the equivalent of you clambering over Notre Dame. Once you explain it that way, people are horrified and they realise, but if you say it's culturally significant and it's really important to traditional owners, that doesn't resonate. When we actually explain what you've done is sacrilege, they're taken aback and they understand.
Later in the day, Pamela, who's planning to climb Uluru in the morning, catches up with me at a different part of the rock, and she's very keen to talk again.
My true reason for climbing is my ego, because I've just turned 70. I've got 2 replacement knees, and I want to see if I can challenge myself to get as far as I can.
And you've been thinking about that since we saw you last,
and I have been thinking about that since I saw you last, and yes.
It's the ego.
It's the ego, definitely ego.
Almost 200 years since the British invasion, Australia remains the only Commonwealth country to have never signed a treaty with its Indigenous people. Last year, around 300 Indigenous leaders came together at Uluru, demanding real legal and political recognition and power as the First Nation people of Australia.
It is important to us, you know. It is important, and governments and people should respect and recognise that we are the first people of the land. And I work for my black government. They are the teachers. We have doctors and lawyers and anthropologists and nurses and everything in our system, in our customary system.
I grew up on Anaway land in Armidale, in an area European settlers called New England, because with its cool climate and rolling hills, it reminded them of home.
Oh, right, where's the ham?
But my family on my father's side were amongst the first settlers to come from Europe to South Australia.
What do you think, Rebecca? You like prawns? Yes. Yes.
And while I was working on this story, I realised I had a much closer connection to Uluru, or Ayers Rock, than I had realised. With the arrogance of invaders and the ignorance of outsiders, they gave the rock the name Ayers Rock, after my great-great-great-uncle, Henry Ayers, who was a senior politician in Australia at the time. A connection I've only recently realised, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I spent the day thinking about this connection. After years living away from Australia, this trip has made me realise how dislocated non-Indigenous Australians are to the stories of the land we live in. I tell Sammy that Henry Ayers is my great-great-great-great-uncle. The person that the first white person to come here named this rock after. It's something I feel a little bit uncomfortable about, so I do want to say sorry for the disrespectful way and brutal way that families like mine treated Aboriginal people in the past. His reaction surprises me. He's excited because he says his great-great-grandfather met explorer William Goss.
He met my great-great-grandfather in 1873.
What did they talk about, do you think?
I think the explorer, they would all like what name every hill or creek or which one.
Do you think it was weird that they came up with that name, Ayers Rock, that they wanted to call it something different? Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Later that afternoon, I tell Alison.
Well, Aboriginal people don't hold grudges. What was past is past, you know, done from the beginning. But now we are looking at going forward and teaching non-Indigenous people the respect and that, and develop that understanding and that trust about what happened rather than living in the past. So they're all about coming together, interacting, you know, showing the dance. I speak 5 languages and English is my 5th.
With Alison's language skills, she works as a bridge between the elders, the government and the tourism operators. And today is dancing in an ima, a welcome ceremony for visitors who are here for a cultural festival called Chungu. On stage is Tilly with her all-female schoolgirls drumming group Atweme. It's an event that showcases Indigenous culture from across Australia for a mixed audience. Renowned Australian Indigenous country music singer Troy Cassar-Daley is a regular performer here.
What it does, I think it brings people from the outside and helps immerse them in some cultural things they'll never see in Sydney. Black, white people should all come here and carry a bit of this spirit home. And I mean, touch your foot over there near Uluru and take a bit of that feeling with you. It's not hard to feel that it's a great place.
And then, as night falls, a new way of stories being told is revealed. Indigenous Australian fashion brands using material with the paintings that tell the ancient stories of the creation time, led by Australia's leading Indigenous model.
Indigenous artwork is, on canvas and things like that, but I think it's really great that now it's being, put into fashion. It also has a lot of meaning behind it. There's a story behind it. It's not just, a normal dress you would buy in a shop. It's special.
Elder Auntie Alison, who helped organise this festival, says she wants to see more of this kind of tourism at Uluru, the sharing of stories rather than conquering the rock.
They want the world to see, they want Australia to see that culture is alive and well here today.
Do you think there's enough of this kind of talking?
No, I'd like to see more about this kind of talking. So I hope that when the parks close, there will be opportunities to sit down and talk more.
When the climb close, you mean?
Yeah, because there'll be time for elders to teach. Yeah.
The sharing of our shared Australian history in order to heal and create a new, more inclusive, modern narrative on this ancient land.